Well, good morning and happy new year from sunny, cloudless San Diego. Trying to enter 2021 and put 2020 behind us and all that madness. But here today, we are here for a couple of build breakdowns. So I get a lot of questions regarding some of the rigs I drive. So we're going to do a couple of build breakdowns on my FJ45 pickup, my Power Wagon, and a little update on stuff I've done to my Jeep Gladiator. So we'll get on into this. All right, first we'll do a quick update on my Jeep JT Gladiator. This is a 10.3. Did start out as ready to run. I've done a build breakdown on this vehicle before. Its basic setup is pretty much the same, other than changing some wheels and tires and removing the bed rack. So I had it kind of set up for the overlanding trail feel, more scale, but I tend to like to do stupid stuff with my cars, and I knew this had the potential to do really great things. So I want to change it up and give it a little bit more ability. So the chassis, motor, ESC, all that's remained the same. Still running a ProTech 370 for the steering servo, Holmes Revolver 1800 on an SW4. It's got an Eco Power servo for the dig. I'm still running a dig function on this. I am considering modifying this for a full-size servo like my other truck, but it's been adequate for now. That Eco Power servo has been much better than the factory Spectrum servo. I am running this on a DX5R, so I can adjust all my endpoints and all that jazz to keep servos alive, especially the small dig servos. But changes we have made to this car, I have changed and gone a little bit wider. I was running a smaller hub on my Method 310s before with the BFG Cam 3 Predators that I'd cut, and they did pretty well, but I wanted to try out some new things. So on here now, we have a set of the Proline trenchers. You can see here's a new tire from Proline. This is based fairly roughly off of their tread pattern that they've run for short horse trucks and big monster trucks and that sort of thing. For many years, this is just now a specifically made crawler tire in a 1.9. It's 4.7 inch tall. I have a kind of a dual stage crazy crawlers foam setup in it in the front and just stock foam in the rear. We are running this currently with a set of 600 SLW hubs with a beef patty in the front and then a 725 in the rear, so it kind of widened out the truck. And these are KMC Enduros with VP Spider rings on the outside. So that's one of the major changes we've done. I'm going to do a full review on these tires. These are the G8 compound. I'm really happy with this tire. Haven't found any real kinks in its armor as far as forward grip goes. Side loader is really great. It's done really well on pretty much all the surfaces I've put it on. I have had this truck running in a couple of my videos recently, and we've pulled some pretty gnarly lines with this truck, being that it's a full-bodied, long wheelbase. This thing's 14-inch wheelbase, which helps and hurts all at the same time. But some of the things you can reach as far as climbing verticals with this truck has been amazing with this setup. So that's a little bit of an update on my Jeep Gladiator, and we'll move on to some of the other cars today. Okay, so our first build breakdown we're going to do today is on my, well, it's a scale thing. This thing's a lot of things. It's not a brand of truck you can buy. This is all pretty much custom. It does use a lot of off-the-shelf parts, other than fitting things together. So I guess we'll start with the body, which I get a lot of questions about. So this body is actually two bodies put together. So it is an MST FJ45 cab, which originally came with a large molded flatbed roll cage style on the back. My only gripe about that cage is that it looks great, but it is very, very heavy. And on this particular truck, I wanted to try and keep the weight down to a degree. A friend of mine would argue with me that all my trucks are too heavy, but I tend to run, trail trucks, and having a bit of weight is good. It's not a comp brake, even though I have run this in some comps in class 2 without using the dig. I'm a little wide for it, but I just go out for some fun. So if I tag a gate, whatever. I'm not there to win the competition. I'm just there to have fun. And I have run this in C3, which it is better suited for because of the dig and the width of the truck. But other than that, we'll get into the particulars of the body here. So like I said, starting out with the cab, it is from MST. I believe they're based out of Europe. They built some really nice bodies. They do like the small little Land Rover, Range Rover body. They also have a new Defender body coming out. LR3, I think, is the model year or series of vehicle, and that'll be really cool for some overland builds. Maybe build a Camel Trophy type truck out of that. It's a little bit more lightweight. But yeah, they're the same company that built this. So it does come with a molded grill. So you have a separate piece to paint. It's injected, and these actually come with a really sweet snorkel and mirrors and a whole bunch of nice cast detail parts. I didn't add any of that on this particular truck because I just wanted to keep it more minimal. And then if we move on to the back of the car here, that's where things get a little tricky. This is a bed from a Power Wagon body built by Proline. It's a 1946 based Power Wagon that I've bobbed. It's actually the same bed that's on my Power Wagon here, which we'll go over in a minute. So just mounting it to the cab, drilled some new holes, got everything lined up, and then I actually did bob the bed of this, so I've shortened it, and you can see the overlap there where I've kind of integrated the bob and the bed to shorten the overall length and the overhang of it. So I maybe wanted to try and get the bedside a little bit thinner on this, but the way that it mounted up and seems to look okay. Could look a little bit more streamlined, but I'm fairly happy with the way it turned out. The interior on this truck is it's a copycat of Proline Jeep Cherokee interior that I've just chopped up. It's from Amazon. You can buy these pre-painted like this. I think they're like 25 bucks. So it's just held in there with some tape. It's cut creatively to fit in there. And yeah, so it's just got an interior in there. It's got some stickers from various other sticker kits to kind of spice it up and make it look a little better. But that's the interior. So here you can see I've bolted the bed and the cab together. There's interior just held in with some Gorilla Tape. Works fine. Doesn't seem to come out of there. Need to do anything, wipe down the windows on the inside for cleaning it. Take off the tape and do what you need. But here, if you look here, these are a great piece for any of you Element guys out there. This is what held the Element Sendero body and bed together. They're these little molded, reinforced pieces, and I really like using these. I use them on the Toyota Hilux beds. Anything that you need to screw together like this, that's a cab and bed separate. These work really well. I don't know if they sell these separately. I've just destroyed a few of these bodies and had these pieces laying around. They're really easy to use and get everything lined up. So there's a great little tip. So, okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of what this truck actually is. So this is a hodgepodge of different parts to make this what it is. It is actually based on an Element Enduro chassis. Those are the frame rails that I used. But the running gear, and you can see some of the cross braces we've still used, are Element. But other than that, it is pretty much a Axial Capra grafted into this chassis. So you can see right here, this is a Capra transmission. It's a bone stock, other than being greased and having the dig function worked over a little bit. And these are still Element Enduro side skids that are on this. They mount right up to the chassis. They fit everything the way they're supposed to. But then when we flip this over, you can see it runs the whole Capra skid and everything inside there. So we've done 2 of these. This was the first one I did. I probably did a bit more clearancing on the chassis than I really needed to. But, you know, first time building it, you kind of hope you don't cut away too much and everything's still functional. So, okay, so yeah, that's how we get the transmission and skid all inside this chassis. See, it's full length. It is bobbed in the front a little bit to create better approach angle. The rear end is left absolutely stock. The links on this are factory Capra links, pretty much in the stock locations. We have adjusted where they sit in the rear link mounts to create a little bit of anti-squat. But other than that, stock link geometry. It's a 12.5-inch wheelbase. Trying incision drive shafts, which will fit a Capra, even if you're on the stock cage. Work really well. Nice, easy way to get beefed up drive shafts in your Capra. So, let's flip this back over. The shock towers are, I think they're originally for G-Speed chassis. We have built a couple of these. The other iterations of this truck I've built, we used 10-1 Samex shock towers. They seem to offer the same shock geometry. And then that's one thing that I didn't like about the Capra, was the suspension geometry for the shock placements just weren't favorable. It takes a lot of tuning to get them to work correctly. You know, maybe you could use a sway bar in the back with the factory cage. Just not a lot of space for that. But I wanted to build something different, so this is what we built. But these are, yeah, some type of shock tower off of some type of G-Speed chassis or something brazen. I don't remember where I got them from. They're the ones I had, and they just kind of lucked out and seemed to bang on there. And that's what we use. The shocks are stock Element shocks. There's nothing really special about them. Run 35 weight oil. Nothing in particular. They're great shocks. They don't seem to leak that much. They're easy to service. Parts are easy to get. Yeah, so those are great. Those are fine. Capra stock links again for the steering. The axles I'm running under this. So these are super shafty axles. There are a few brands out there. Trill makes aluminum axle housings for this. There is the KYX brand. There's a few of them. But it's like anything else, you pay for what you get. So while those are good axles, these are great. These are 70-75 milled billet axle housing. They start as one piece, and Super Shafty does an excellent job machining these. I actually pre-ordered these when they came out, and we waited a few months for them to come in. They are a bit pricey. I think you spend roughly $385 for just the axle housings, no internals or any of that. You can use all of your factory internals on it, your portal gears, axle shafts, ring gears, all that will fit in it. And then obviously your cost goes up if you upgrade all of that. But that's the axle housings that have been on here. I've had a lot of debate of people saying, oh, you just buy the cheaper housings. And while the Trill housings, the new iterations, the first versions had some teething problems, the new iterations are pretty good. They actually look very close to this. I dare say they're a copycat design, but it's a difference in materials and time. So, You know, these are very, very robust. I mean, I've had this truck come off of 15-foot ledges on power and land on the side of the axle, you know, wheel face down, and never had a problem. Never bend, never tweak, nothing. I drive this truck hard. I tend to get it into really stupid situations. It actually recently just flew off of a cliff at the beach, Black's Beach, here in San Diego. I mean, it's large enough for guys to do parasailing off of, you know, with the parachute wing. And it flew and landed roughly 15 feet down a 300-foot cliff face, and the axle survived. I did tweak the chassis a little bit in the front. It landed right on the nose from about 15 feet up. Luckily, I didn't have to go rappelling down a cliff to go get it. But yeah, the axles have been great. I can't say enough about them. Spend the money on the good axles if you drive your truck really hard. So we can go through the things that are in these axles. You can flip it over here. You can definitely see they have been used, you know, rubbed against everything. I crawl this thing on everything, so they're definitely used. Like I said, the axle housings are super shafty. The internals in these axles, we are running the HR inner portal box, and then I've actually modified a set of Vitavon outer covers. They're a little bit heavier than the HR cover, and I wanted to produce the most amount of weight out of that portal box I could. The internals on these, everything's VP, so it's all Vanquish products. It's Vanquish Racing 6-bolt locker, Vanquish ring and pinion. This uses the same ring and pinions from a 10.2, and then it uses the same portal gears that are essentially in a 10.3. But these are TGH gears in the portal boxes with VP stub shafts for the axles, VP half shafts, upper half shafts for the Capra. I think the front ones are stock because they're equal length, but all the rest of the parts are VP. For the rear axle, again, it's running a super shafty housing, VP 6-bolt locker, VP. Actually, for the ring and pinion in this, because I've changed the overdrive setup in this a little bit, the ring and pinion in this is the 27.8 HR Racing ring and pinion. So we've actually sped up the rear axle just a hair, and then we're running the stock ratio Team Garage Hack portal gears, and again, VP Vanquish Racing axle stubs. So that's the setups that are in my axles. Like I said before, there's been a lot of debate on, are these worth the money? Are the Vanquish axles worth the money? Yes, they are. If you drive your truck hard, one, it's a really nice piece to have, and two, the strength and robustness of having a properly machined axle out of a billet piece just can't be beat. So, moving on to other things here. Wheels and tires on this truck. I am running Vanquish Racing OMF beadlocks on this. These are the real deal. Yeah, I know people kind of cry that I'm running a set of wheels and tires that are, you know, the wheels could be worth upwards of $300. They seem to have just kind of jacked up in price over the years. But I bought these back before they were a craze. Unfortunately, I don't think they make this particular wheel anymore. You can find knockoff versions on Amazon, that sort of thing. But yeah, these are the real deal. So a quick note for those of you who are wondering, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera here. We'll see if we can get it to really focus here. Let's see here. There we go. So the big difference between a real Vanquish wheel and a fake Vanquish wheel is there are little machined relief lines in the wheel face on a VP wheel. versus a non-Vanquish wheel would just be solid flat. So those of you who are wondering. Tires on this, I'm running Proline BFG crawlers. The fronts are in a Predator compound. The rears are in a G8 compound. It's a setup I've run before. Really like it. The rear tire provides just a little bit of slip so you don't get kind of an over grip on little edges if you're climbing something. Yeah, it's been a setup that I've run for a little bit now, and I really like it. The front bumper on this is just a little Proline, little stubby bumper, just mounted on their stock mount. It's kind of seen better days. I've bent the front of the chassis a couple times, landing it on things. But yeah, just a basic little bumper that seems to flow really well. It's plastic, so it tends to slide up things when you get it kind of crammed into things. It puts some little D-rings on it. The body mounts on this, because these are kind of custom shock towers, is I've actually cut up the stock shock tower from the Element and mounted the body mount piece onto there. And then the same in the rear. So you can see there, just it's just the Element shock tower chopped up. We've got some standoffs in here. These are just Amazon standoffs, just to add some bracing to the truck, to the frame where I can. And then we'll get into electronics. So the electronics on this truck, I am running a Hi-Tech 950 servo. Hi-Tech is local to me here in San Diego. These are a great servo for the money. Good power, fairly decent reliability, durability. Yeah, they've been a good servo. If I need a warranty one, it's here in San Diego. The other servos I really seem to like are the Protec 370s. Have been a great servo. But yeah, that's what we're running for a servo in here. And then if we move over to the transmission side, like I said, the transmission is pretty much bone stock. I have worked over the dig surfaces in this a little bit to make it run and activate a little bit easier. Not that I really need to, because I'm running a full-size dig servo in here. This is basically the same setup I have in my JLU, same type of servo. It's just a eBay knockoff servo, aluminum case deal. Works fine for the dig. I'm running a 2.0 waterproof Castle BEC. I could have went with the standard one. This is the same amperage. This is the waterproof version. I do like to use these. They're a little bit more pricey than the other versions, but the packaging is really nice because it's in an aluminum case and it just seems to stick down to places a little bit easier. The battery tray in this is still the stock Element battery tray. This actually started out as the bigger battery tray, and just cut off the sides to accommodate a couple different size batteries are running this, and yeah, that's it. ESC wise, this is running Castle Creations SW4 with the BEC to back it up for the servo to run all the servos for dedicated circuit. And then the receiver, I'm just running a 515 Spectrum on my DX5R. Yeah, and that works fine. The motor in this car is a little different. This was given to me for some testing. This is a Holmes motor. It is a centered outrunner. I'm not running it centered at the moment. It's 2200 kV. It's staggered magnets. It's like I said, it's a prototype. Hopefully they come out with these. This has been a really great motor between torque density and speed. I do find the standard Revolver 1800 has a little bit more drag brake ability. So while I run actually very little drag brake on my 1800 revolvers, this one probably takes about double, but it does start up very smooth. For being a higher kV outrunner, it's been a great motor. I have tested it centered, so I don't know if you can see. This actually has pickups and a sensor port, and it ran very, very well censored. But they're on to new things with their new ESCs, with running sensorless technology. And yeah, I may pair this with one of their new ESCs later. So that's the motor that's in this. Okay, so that's the build breakdown on my little FJ45 pickup. We call it the scale Capra thing because it's, Capra based, and it's kind of scale. It's in between. Runs the Capra axles, which are a little bit wider. I didn't mention the hubs I'm running on these wheels are 350s. Yeah, small hub, don't need a lot. Keeps your Ackerman really square without having a lot of steering scrub. That's one benefit of having the XR with axles, which is basically what Capra does. So that's the build breakdown on this. It's been a great truck. It's super fun. It's one of my favorites. And we figured we'd just do a little build breakdown on it since we get a lot of questions on it. Cool. We'll move on to the last truck we got here today. All right, here we go. Gonna do the last build breakdown on another one of my rigs here. I didn't originally build this rig. I purchased this rig roughly 3 years ago, and I've just made improvements to it over the years and added details and done some technical modifications to suspension and that sort of thing and general setup. Gentleman, I believe he's in the Midwest, originally built this truck. It is a 10.2. It's a Dodge Power Wagon body from Proline. It's been weathered. The lights on this, let me grab my pointer. The light pods on this here, these are from Power Shift. They build the whole kit. They have the tail lights, headlights, and the little mid-mount marker lights. They're 3D printed. They run 3-cell direct. They have the standard kind of halogen colored bulb in it, so it doesn't look like a modern vehicle. It's got that yellow hue to them, and they fit this very, very well. The paint on this is a weathered paint job. The gentleman I bought it from originally did this paint job. It is just a green paint, some type of model paint. The inside of the body is painted like a silver to kind of show a metal effect as things wear, and it's got great patina to it. I've added to it over the years. When I got it, it just had a few little rust spots, and kind of the fenders were weathered. And yeah, I've just added to it, added my logo to the side of it, gas cans, various things in the back. He did a great job. They built a rear tailgate kit, which I think comes from Scale Nerds, and they built a wonderful drop bed in this full-length drop bed with wood slats in it, and I've just kind of added goodies to it. The body is magnet mounted, so there's no body post, and then this is like a metal axle from Proline that I've just kind of weathered up and rusted, and the magnets hold it in place, and it kind of bounces around back there and doesn't seem to get lost. It's a fun thing. I've added some cokes in the back, some tools, various little things, license plate. The rear bumper is actually a 10.2 Cherokee bumper that's been cut down on the sides. There you can see the Power Shift tail light mounted there. It's got some cool little chains that would hold the bed closed, the tailgate. This did swivel at one time, but I found it to be a problem. I tend to like to wheel it, so it's just mounted solid here now, and that's fine. Next thing's moving on. I've added a little scale antenna to this. It's a nice little metal brass piece. I don't know who made it. The antenna itself is just a piece of piano wire that shoe-goes into the base here. But yeah, another nice little detail. The gas cans are just Amazon gas cans. You can find them on eBay, various other places. And you just kind of, weather them and, add some color to them. There's various techniques on how to do that out on the internet. Model builders and train guys on the internet on YouTube are a great source to learn some methods for that. There are a few guys that do specifically RC based weather paint tutorials for finding different products, for doing rust and techniques. But yeah, there's a great place to find stuff. These come off of eBay, and then you just kind of weather them and add them to your build. I've added a few dents to the body over time. This is a 1946 year body, representing that. So, I figured it wouldn't have pristine panels. It would have some dents in it. So I added some dents by just heating up the body and pushing it in with various screwdriver or whatever you find that kind of matches the dent you want. And that adds that type of detail to that. And then other things here, like in the windows, I've added a few cracks by merely cutting with a hobby knife just the pattern into the Lexan window, and that kind of gives you some cracks. Winch on the front of this truck is an RC four-wheel drive. It's an old school representation of a winch they would have made in the 1950s. It's got a large cool ratchet on the side. I believe this is an M8000 Warren winch. I've made a little fair lead holder here to kind of give it more of a plate look, and it's just been weathered. This has been modified with a Tamiya small motor in it, so it's got a little bit more power than the factory one from RC World Drive. It's not hooked up. I may hook it up one of these days, but yeah, that's the winch on this. Cut out the grill. It's got a nice 3D printed radiator piece behind it, just kind of give it that kind of beat up look. The bumper is just a piece of aluminum angle. It's been cut and mounted to the front of the chassis. So that's the front end of this thing. This also has a 3D printed raised decals on the hood and on the bed, the tailgate, and on the front. It's a nice added touch. I don't remember who makes those. But yeah, they're 3D printed, and you weather them and add them to your build. You glue them on, and they're a great detail to put on there. Really give the body some depth. So on the interior of this truck, the dashboard in this is from Scale Nerds. It's a 3D printed part, and then you finish it out and weather it. You can see there. Try and get a good peek inside there. The figure that's in here is from RC4 Drive, some random guy. The rest of the interior is just styrene. It's got some great plaid fabric covering a basic bench seat. And we've also got, let's see if I can focus in on that. He's got some Jack Daniels for after a ride home or on the trail to go with his Cokes in the back. So you have a little Jack and Coke after your trail run, or you get home, got to deal with the wife, So yeah, that's the interior on this truck. This is a really nice piece from Scale Nerds, and the interior is just all styrene and weather and painted. For wheels and tires on this build, I'm running RC four-wheel drive, or no, not RC four-wheel drive, Proline Super Swampers on this. These are the Predator compound. They've been really good. They grip really well, fit the style of the truck really nice, and they've been good on this truck. The wheels are RC four-wheel drive Wagon wheels that I've rusted. I've used you rub the paint off of these. Use a wire wheel. There's a number of methods, and then salt and vinegar, oil water bath to create the rust, because these are steel. They're 2.5 clamp, and then they have been drilled to accommodate an SLW hub. I think I'm running 725s all the way around this truck. So the SLW hub allows you to adjust the offset of the wheel versus the RC four-wheel drive original piece that went in these. So those are the wheels and tires that are on this. Got a great look. Just used a wire wheel and scratched off a bunch of the paint, wire brush, and a little bit of vinegar and water, and they rust up like that. So it's a great way if you're got these type of steel wagon wheels. SSD makes them, RC four-wheel drive, few people make them. You can find them on banggood.com, any number of places you can find these. They come in white and the black primarily, but yeah, you can kind of rub the paint off them and get creative, and a little bit of vinegar, and get that really nice real actual rust look on them. Okay, so here we can get into the chassis. Like I said, this is 10.2 based. It was originally a kit, so it runs a 10.2 kit transmission and a stock battery tray. I'm running a 950 servo for steering in this. And then the axles are fairly stock. They've just been weathered. The front has a beef tube in it. And then I have some brass outer hubs on them. Still running the stock plastic C-hub. It's been fine. Runs the stock links for the steering, panhard and all that. Yeah, just basic 10.2 axle. I'll probably upgrade the C-hubs at some point. This does have the overdrive HR 10.2 gears in the front to create a mild bit of overdrive in it. But yeah, axles are fairly stock. The rear axle, we'll get into more of the suspension stuff here. Stock shocks, so it's stock links. But things get more interesting in the rear end here. So again, running basically a stock 10.2 axle. It's just been weathered, but it's running a set of leaf springs on this truck. So it did come with the leaf springs when I bought it. I believe this is a kit. I think it's very similar to what RC four-wheel drive had for theirs for the 10.2. I've done a Blazer with that full chassis on it, and a lot of the pieces are very similar. I think this was some type of Banggood, Amazon kit that uses basically RC four-wheel drive leaf springs for the leafs, but it gives you the mounts and all that. This rear bumper piece is integrated with the shackle mounts and the bumper mount in it. It's an aluminum piece that bolts into the chassis. And yeah, it's a kit for that type of thing. You look up a 10.2 leaf spring kit and you'll find the parts to build this rear end. It did not have shocks on it when I bought it for the rear end. So I've actually added, because of the drop bed, you're limited and you don't want shocks sticking out of the bed. It ruins the look of it. So this is aftermarket, kind of based off of Traxxas 1/16 rocker arms and shocks. I built the downlinks for this to get the math all right, to create some dampening, and so we run a cantilever setup back here for the shocks. I'll flip this over. And here we can see the rear end drive shafts. I'm running, the rear is some type of aftermarket shaft. It's a metal shaft. I don't know where it came from, but it works really well. It's been durable. Some type of Amazon item. Could be a G-Speed or something of that sort. The front is an incision shaft. I really like using those. The bells are small, fit into tight places, durable, great drive shaft. And the other thing that we've built here, for all you leaf spring guys will know what this is. This is an anti-wrap bar setup. So using an original link mount and the upper link mount, I welded this together and then just mounted it off of one of the original link mounts. Now, while this isn't necessarily the proper way to do this, you should really have this on a shackle on the front of it so that it swings with the axle, because your wheelbase changes as your suspension flexes and moves, but it does keep the axle from wrapping. And it's been fine. Not the most optimal setup, but the amount of flex that this truck has, it's been adequate. Never broke a leaf spring. I'm running them fairly soft. It only has the main leaf and one overload leaf in it. It's actually not even an overload leaf. It's a long leaf, so this truck is still fairly soft for a leaf spring on the back. But yeah, building an anti-wrap bar if you're doing leaf springs is definitely a good idea, especially if you're going to really run this and try and rock crawl it, so to speak. I do crawl this up some rock crawling lines, but more than that, we just kind of have fun with it and just run some trails. But it will conquer some lines, because there's no hang down from the rear links, because of the leaf springs. You can see how high they are in there. The breakover on this is amazing when you come up to ledges, when you get into a ledge here in this area, because there's nothing here. It creates a lot of clearance for climbing up things. So this has an amazing breakover because of that. For the rest of the electronics in this, I'm just running standard receiver, Spectrum receiver. It runs off my DX5R. It's only got a couple channels to worry about, so just like a 310 receiver in there. It has a light port coming out of it. You can power the power shift lights directly off a 3-cell. This one's just running off of the receiver. It kind of makes it more dim. I think it looks more realistic. It's not as bright, but yeah, it's the way to go. And then here we're running a Holmes Torque Master. This is brushed ESC. It's been a great ESC. It's very finely tunable. I may eventually convert this to a brushless kit, thinking about doing the new Holmes kit when it comes out, and doing away with the brush motor. I primarily like to run outrunners, but because of the interior on this and how low the body sits, don't really want a rotating motor underneath the seat in the truck. That's where this sits. So I'll keep it with some type of canned system, censored, or new Holmes non-censored kit with one of their new 6-shooter 6-pole motors would be I think a great fit for this. But it's running brush for now, and it's been great. It climbs everything we need. It's got plenty of speed, good torque. Running a Brood 35 turn motor in this. Yeah, it's been a good motor. Just a nice, timeable, rebuildable 540 can 35 turn. So that's the electronics that run in this. You see the body mounts. I actually need to shoe glue my magnet back into the body here. But yeah, it's got some metal plates for the magnets that are underneath the body. You can see here's a couple magnets. So another shot of the interior piece and a magnet that runs in the back. Tape everything down. Right, there you go. Okay, so there we go. There's a little build breakdown on a couple of my rigs and a little update on my JT Gladiator. Wish everybody a happy new year. We're into 2021 here, and let's get 2020 behind us. Hope to get out to some great events this year. We didn't get to do things like Pro Line by the Fire this year, King of the Hammers, those sorts of things. So we're really looking forward to getting out there. We've done a couple great camping trips to a few great spots and just crawled our local areas. We've got a few good spots here in San Diego, and the weather's always nice. So, for the most part, we get some rain. But yeah, so there's a little build breakdown on my scale Capra based FJ45 pickup, and on my Pro Line Power Wagon, and a little update on JT Gladiator. So have fun out there, guys. Have a great new year, and we'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.